Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
So our next speaker for today is LAURIE SEYMOUR. So LAURIE is an innovation alchemist. She has written an international best-selling. She's an international best-selling author, and she's a host of a wisdom talk radio podcast called Executive Coach, international speaker and trainer. Also, she's a founder CEO of the Baka Institute. 20 years ago, she was honored to receive the stewardship of special historic technology that accelerates the process of innovation and creation in individuals and groups. LAURIE's work with creative intelligence is particularly valuable for professional innovators, thought leaders, product designers, company founders, because the work accelerates the time from the ideation to implementation and revenue, while also opening innovator to new levels of confidence, peace, and satisfaction. Thank you so much, LAURIE. Your topic for today is inspiration into action, accelerating the process of creation and innovation. Thank you so much, and over to you.
Thank you, Samyukta. And thank you, Dr. Yugandhar, for all that you have created in this event. And to my fellow panel members, I am already inspired, and I'm here to talk about inspiration into action. I'm feeling so inspired because we have the power within us, each of us, to create, to connect, to inspire, and to be inspired. And the questions, the things I want to be with you today are, how do you know what to do after you've had a great idea? And what is that source of capacity, of your capacity to access what is needed to act in the moment? In other words, how do you stay inspired from the moment you have the great idea all the way through the process of implementation? And that's a challenge, as you probably can consider for yourself, because sometimes we get lost in our great ideas and don't take the action steps to actually manifest it. Or we think that inspiration is only that magic for that moment of the idea. And we forget that that same source of the inspiration is present to access all the way through that process. Now, I've been studying and working with energy for close to 40 years. And way back when I was a psychotherapist, my questions were really about how life worked, how we could tap into our potential and what was possible. And I know that those questions were with me really in a way from the very beginning in life, because I'd never felt particularly welcomed or connected in my family. And I'd look around and I felt so different. And I didn't understand that. And mostly at that young age, I took that on to say that something was not right with me. And like Teresa was saying in the beginning of this hour, that's what we do. We have those early beliefs and we carry them through. And that's what first took me into being a psychotherapist was, well, how do we do this thing called life? Later on, when I was a solutions engineer, my challenge was to find those perhaps never been done before solutions for customer problems, whether it was for companies like Google or Intel or the United States Navy. And then when I was given that stewardship of this special esoteric technology called Turea, I began more directly working with the energy of innovation and creation, and realized that I'd been doing that all along, but I didn't understand so much about, I didn't understand that that's what I was doing. And that led me in these last few years to develop the potentiation process. And that was born from the weaving together of Turea, this special esoteric technology, my proprietary inner compass system, and the cutting edge research in things like quantum physics, consciousness, and creative intelligence. I use the term creative intelligence to not only speak to a type of personal intelligence, like what we've been reading about a lot over the last years, emotional intelligence, or practical intelligence, or analytical intelligence, but more directly to that infinite potential of the universe. That's the field of creative intelligence. Sometimes I call it the field of potentiality, because it really is that field of infinite possibility, infinite possibility. When we are willing to connect with all that is, and I don't mean that in the sense of being overwhelmed by, oh my God, I've got to open to the universe and I'm going to be, become lost in that. But to know that in this space of possibility, we get to connect with what we're here to manifest. And by doing that, we also connect in with that source of innovation, that source of creativity, of co-creation. I think of it as source. It really is that essence of source, of flow, of resonance. Those are the words that I think of when I think about connecting with source. And you know that feeling in your own life when you are just simply flowing through your day. When you get up to do something and it feels effortless. You're not thinking about, you're not doubting, you're not wondering if you're doing the right thing or you're going to do something wrong. That self-doubt isn't there. You're simply flowing. When you look at a beautiful sunset and your heart expands, that's that resonance with the beauty of what's before you. And in that resonance, your energy expands and connects in more fully with that infinite field of potential. Now, why am I talking about all of this, and particularly on a panel that has to do with business? Our current landscape is one of uncertainty and volatility. And what are needed are not only new strategies, but we also need new ways of thinking, of creating, and of executing. Creativity is that inspiration of possibility, and it arises out of the space of uncertainty. When we want to narrow things down to only what we know or what we're good at, we miss out on what's possible for us. We miss out on that creative impulse. And then what we need to understand is where that happens best, moving from that creative impulse into manifestation, is that happens best in collaboration. And I think of collaboration in two directions. We get to collaborate inside. We learn how to collaborate with source. And that is a huge part of what I teach, is really learning how to co-create with source. One of my teachers once said to me, I am nothing by myself. And because I always wanted to know everything and to, in some ways to control things, it's like, well, what did that mean? And what I came to understand was about that essence of co-creation. That when I'm in that space where I am surrendering to source and willing to receive the guidance from source, then what happens is my act of creating goes through the roof. Now, the other direction of collaboration is collectively, so that when I'm part of a team, it's not just simply me connecting with source and imposing that upon the team. It's recognizing and acknowledging that each member of that team, who may be having gathered together to innovate a particular new product or new system, but that each member of that team has their own connection with source. And when that is facilitated, when that is built out, and this is the thing I'm most excited by now, is working with teams to build that out individually so that collectively you have a force that's come together to innovate. So we need to know how to have that interconnection. We need to know how to do that within our team. We need to know how to inspire others as well as to be inspired ourselves. And then we need to sustain that connection, that co-creative space, that inspiration, all the way through the process of manifestation. Because if we stop and think, okay, now I've got my idea, and it's only analytical after that, you've broken the connection. And the connection between head and heart is one that allows our analytical self, the self that likes to create systems, to create a system that's inspired, to create a system that works. Because another thing that I've learned through the years is that energy always works appropriately. So that when I am willing to allow myself to be guided, that energy that is there guiding me will take me through those places of what needs to take place and when. The great theoretical physicist David Bohm said of the infinite potential of the universe, the ground or essence of the cosmos is not elementary particles, but pure process, a flowing movement of the whole. The entire universe is intricately connected. Wholeness is built into the universe. Think about that. Wholeness is built into the universe. And yet so often we feel separate. We feel separate from our own creativity, our own source. We feel separate from each other. When we turn to tuning our channels of reception, amplifying our energy exchange, our information exchange with source, what happens is that our bandwidth expands. And from my days of being that solutions engineer in the telecom world, I learned about something called signal noise ratio. And what that simply means, and this is around how cell phones work, that if the noise in the system is higher than the signal level, you get garbled audio. You can't hear the person that you want to most speak to on the other end of the phone. You have to be able to lower that noise floor by having a clean signal source, by creating the system such that there isn't a lot of garble, in order to take those, to receive a larger number of those wavelengths from the universe. So as the noise drops, as we do things that allow that noise to drop, our bandwidth expands. Our ability to hear more clearly expands. And isn't that what we all want? I know that that's what I wanted in my life. And it's what has moved me to continue in this work through all of these years. So meditation is one way that we get to tune into those channels of reception, getting quiet. And getting quiet and meditation doesn't necessarily mean we're sitting on a couch somewhere, on a pad. It may be that we're out walking in nature and we're resonating with that essence of nature so that we get to receive. We get to drop that noise floor so that the bandwidth of our receiving signals increases, goes up. And we have that feeling as we slow down our thought processes of being of having a kind of laser focus into that field of potential. So you start to create a shift from a mental shift from impossibility, which sometimes feels like resignation, to possibility and to the essence of wanting to serve life, the desire to want to serve life. And when we create our businesses from that place of wishing to serve life, from being connected with source so that source informs the strategies, the ways of thinking, the ways of creating, we have something that comes through us that is of the highest good. We often think about our gut instinct or our intuition. And that's that first level of receiving those signals from source. I have this feeling about something. I have this intuition about something. I have this gut feeling. When we start to refine those, we get a solid connection. We have a solid connection that allows us to take all of those steps so that we become and build a successful company. I have one client right now who I've been working with for a while, who's a brilliant woman, so talented. And yet all of what she's successful, she's been successful to a point. But those ways of undercutting herself, that kind of self-doubt and that unwillingness to trust that which her own inner guidance was offering to her kept getting in her way. And what I've seen through this time of working with her is, and what she has shared, is how much stronger her own connection with her inner guidance is. She trusts what source is giving to her. She's dropped that noise floor so that the signal can come in more clearly and more directly. And what's happening now is so exciting to me, which is that she is building a company, building out her team that in a way, and I'm not going to share what kind is in case, she's listening, but she's building a company that is going to impact so many people and be able to get the messages of so many people out into the world. And she's doing it with such dignity and grace that it warms my heart. So have the courage when you receive that something from guidance from source to act in an instant, to act in a moment. Because if we put it off, we're putting off source, we're putting off that inner guidance. We're denying what's coming to us. And as we receive it, as we allow it, that helps that signal level to raise. It helps that noise floor to lower, because our own self-doubt, our own unwillingness to receive creates the noise. So if we simply take a breath and receive, to receive that breath, because the breath is that which keeps us alive. And that's what I'd like to leave you with, is simply receiving your breath. If you'd like more information about any of this work, particularly the work that is now happening with teams, go on over to the Baca Institute. That's BACA, thebacainstitute.com. And there's a wonderful short little quiz on discovering your own creative innovator style. And it'd be lovely to connect with you there. I'm deeply honored to have been here with you today. Thank you, Dr. Yugandhar, for making this possible, for creating this. Thank you for those of you who are listening, whether now or at some future date. And thank you, Samyukta, for your beautiful hosting of today.